everybody, we're not going to cut that out because we are just going to show you what it is like to be living in the world of college football right now when there is so much going on. The transfer portal is live, and Wes and I are just trying to keep you as updated as we possibly can. This is the recruiting rundown here on Gamecock Central. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith. And full disclaimer here at the beginning, we are recording this video at 2:49 on Tuesday, January 6th. There is a great
2026.
2026. There is a great chance by the time you are watching this video that something has changed. So just know we are trying to keep up as quickly as we can with what's going on, but it is happening in a flash very, very quickly. So
the momentum is about to start, Kendall. That's all I'm saying. I can feel it. I warned you. I said the second we do this video, multiple more people are going to commit. These things come in droves. They come in threes, they say, maybe more, maybe less. But I'm telling you, I feel like the momentum has hit for South Carolina. We're going to have to do multiple of these. I hope you know.
Lots of recruiting rundowns coming everybody's way, but let's go ahead and get right into it. Already a couple of commitments for South Carolina from guys out of the transfer portal, including one that just happened about 45 minutes ago or so. Wes, Jordan Thomas, defensive lineman from the University of Georgia. He is coming to South Carolina after a couple-day visit with the Gamecocks. What do you know about Thomas, and why do you feel he is a good pickup for South Carolina, Wes?
Yeah, so originally was being recruited by South Carolina out of high school. Was a four-star kid a couple of years ago. And, there were some times where you felt like South Carolina may have a chance to get him. As we know, Georgia with defensive linemen, they do incredibly well in high school recruiting of landing the guys they want at that position. But South Carolina was right there. He commits to Georgia, goes, redshirts his first year there, plays as kind of a reserve guy this past season. I'm assuming wanted to get a little bit more playing time, wanted to be more of a situation where he's going to have a path to the field, hits the transfer portal. And Kendall, just the perfect example, I think, of, hey, just because you're not hearing of what's going on, just because every visit is not public, there are still things that are being done behind the scenes. He's on campus. I believe he's still on campus right now. As we record this, he'll be wrapping up his visit, but was supposed to meet with the coaches today. Was in for a couple of days, and basically the word had just never gotten out publicly that he was on campus. Also checked out Kentucky. I don't know the names, but I know there were several other SEC schools involved that he was talking about possibly visiting, but hits up South Carolina the last couple of days, commits today, and just is a big-bodied kid, 6'4", 6'5", over 300 pounds. Again, a former four-star kid. As of right now, the number 26 defensive lineman in the transfer portal. So you're talking about a top 30 player at his position in terms of the guys that are in the portal. So I think a good solid pickup as South Carolina tries to add to that defensive tackle room. We know they bring some guys back. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, I think, has got a great shot to start coming up next year. Troy Pikes had a good finish to the year this past season. So they have some guys in that room, but are obviously continuing to try to add that competitive depth, guys that are going to push for playing time. And I think they get a good one here in Jordan Thomas.
Yeah, great pickup for South Carolina and from a fellow SEC school. Now, we've talked about various position groups that we feel like South Carolina really needs to tap into here throughout this portal period. One of those being the wide receiver room. And South Carolina was able to pick up Jaden Gibson out of Oklahoma as well this week. Another solid pickup for the Gamecocks. Wes, what do you have on him?
Yeah, I think when you look at this pickup, Kendall, you're talking about, a lot of times we talk about high risk, high reward. We talk about low risk, low reward. This is a case of minimal risk for South Carolina, potentially high reward. He really hasn't played the last couple of years, has dealt with some injuries, some setbacks and stuff like that. This was a top 10 wide receiver in the country out of high school. Very, very highly recruited. Another situation where South Carolina was very strong with him out of high school, and ends up, we thought he was going to Florida, ends up going to Oklahoma. And then as soon as he hit the transfer portal, South Carolina was one of the schools that Pete Nakos, who does a fantastic job for us over on On3 on a national standpoint, South Carolina kind of was linked with him very, very early on in the process. And so this was one we've been tracking for a while. He took his visit on kind of the latter part of this weekend, and then didn't waste any time, committed to South Carolina. But a 6'5", 6'6" kid, very smooth, somebody who can go up and catch the football, somebody who is kind of open even when they aren't open, kind of like a, throw the ball up, I'm going to go get it type wide receiver. And again, we're not privy to everything that goes into these various things. And even when we are, we're not going to like report it publicly. But this is a situation where South Carolina is getting a high upside player, high upside talent with very, very minimal risk in terms of what they're having to put into this. So I think for them, the upside is like, hey, this guy could be a starter. Like he has that type of ability, that type of talent, an impact guy. Of course, all that is going to stem on, can he get back to that 100% health or close to it after dealing, with a number of injuries.
This is how in real time this all is. You can see Wes checking his phone right now because he wants to make sure he is not missing anything. That is how quickly things can change and things can pop up.
Sorry, Kendall, was that rude of me? I apologize to you.
Not at all. No.
I hate when people don't look me in the eye when I'm talking to them, but I was checking to make sure.
You're doing your job, because if there was something that came up as we are recording this now at 2:55 on January 6th, 2026, we want to be able to report it, because like you said, it is our, trend, I guess you could say, that we would post this and things would change. Now, obviously, there will be a lot more for South Carolina coming up with the portal. Where are they at right now in terms of guys that are coming on campus? Are there any names that stand out to you in this moment that fans should know about?
Yeah, there's a bunch. Some of them, a lot of them already public, some of them still that are not public at this point. Kendall, I know people are waiting on the offensive line. What's going to happen there? What direction will that go? I think you will start to see some guys fall there. I'm very intrigued. Got my list up now. Bryant Williams from Louisiana, who's supposed to be in at some point today into tomorrow, I believe. The visits are kind of a little bit fluid, but that's a visit that's going to take place. And I think South Carolina will have actually a pretty strong chance to make a big impression on him. A lot of these visits, frankly, come down to those final discussions, like what are you going to get in rev share? How's it going to, how bad are you wanted at that particular school? But he's someone, at least going into that visit, that I think there's some strong mutual interest where I think South Carolina will have a great shot. But they've had several offensive linemen on campus the last couple of days. Carter Miller from Central Florida, DJ Chester and Paul Mubenga from LSU, Hank Purvis from Purdue. I think they're in a decent spot with several of those kids, and, are definitely players to keep an eye on. And I'm very intrigued by another guy from Purdue, Nitro Tuggle, wide receiver, who is supposed to be on campus beginning later on this evening. And again, it's like almost 3:00 right now. He's expected in fairly soon, and is someone I think South Carolina fans got intrigued by because Lenora Sellers was posting about him on Instagram. I think there's some excitement there from Lenoris. And Kendall, I always like to look, how ticked off is the fan base from the school that a player is leaving about that player leaving? Yes. And you sometimes get those sour grapes where they're like, this guy, he stinks, he's not any good anyway. But you can really, really tell if they're just absolutely ticked off. And if you look at the Purdue message boards, they were none too happy about losing out on Nitro Tuggle, who started his career at Georgia. So there's some SEC flavor here. Started his career at Georgia, transferred out, but had a really solid year at Purdue this past season, and would be someone that I think would definitely have some starter ability in the receiving core for South Carolina as Kendall Briles kind of tries to rebuild this offense the way he wants it to look.
Yes, Wes, that is funny that you mentioned that. Just checking out X or Twitter and seeing what people have to say. I feel like that is a really good way to gauge what impact the player had on the program. So
if they're ticked off, it is a great sign.
I would agree 100%. And you all know that we've got our transfer portal tracker, which is live over on GamecockCentral.com right now. So that is going to have your up-to-date latest information on who's coming, who's staying, who's visiting. This is such a busy time. I do not envy college football coaches during this time of year. I can't even imagine, total side comment, being a coach that is still coaching in the college football playoff and dealing with the transfer portal. It's crazy. It is really intense. So we're keeping up with it for all of you, and we'll have more recruiting rundown episodes coming your way as South Carolina picks up more commitments. Yes, Wes.
50% off right now, Gamecock Central, for annual subscription. So if you're not a subscriber, great time to get your full next year for half off.
That's a great point. Go over little late holiday present for all of you. Start off the new year strong because they are so great over there. All I do is just talk on videos for Gamecock Central, but our guys that are over there reporting are doing a great job, and they've got content all the time for you left and right over on GamecockCentral.com. You can also follow us on social media too at Gamecock Central. Okay, everybody, we're going to get this posted right now before things change. So you'll be watching this like minutes after we are done. So we appreciate you joining us. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith. This has been the Recruiting Rundown here on Gamecock Central. Happy Tuesday to all of you, and we will see you soon. Bye.